In this spreadsheet, we have a list of swimmers that have tried out for the team this year and a list of members that were on the team last year. Both of them have times associated with them. For instance, Caden has a time for his tryout, and he also has a time that he earned last year while on the team. What we want to do is eventually create some sort of calculation to tell us whether our returning swimmers dropped or gained time in their tryouts. To do this, we're going to look up their time from this table over here. We're going to use the VLOOKUP function to do that. The VLOOKUP function will take a value, in our case Aaron, and it will look up that value in another area, in this case the team members from last year, and allow us to retrieve any associated information with that lookup value. There's a couple things we need to keep in mind. The first is that our lookup value has to be in the leftmost column of whatever table we hope to find the data within. So let's take a look at how this works. So right here I'm going to click on the Insert Function button, choose VLOOKUP from the list of functions, or optionally you could search for it and hit Go and then OK. And I'm going to provide the 4 values that are in the function wizard. The first is the lookup value. The lookup value is that which we hope to find more information about. So in our case, we want to find more information about Aaron. Next is the table array. The table array is where we hope to find that information about Aaron. One rule of using VLOOKUP is that the lookup value has to be in the leftmost column of that table array. In this instance, our table array is going to be B4 through C13, and our lookup value will be in the leftmost column. Next, we have the column index number. That lets Excel know which column do we hope to return a value from. So in our case, this will be column 2 because that's where the time from last year is. Finally is the range lookup. We can choose either false or true, and false signals to VLOOKUP that we want an exact match on Aaron. We don't want an approximate match. I hit OK, and we come up with a not so inspiring result, but we'll talk more about that later. Before I autofill this function down, I need to make sure that that table array is a fixed reference so it doesn't move as I autofill. Hit the F4 button, and now it's a fixed reference that I can autofill down. And you can see for the swimmers that were on the team last year, a time is returned, but for those that weren't, it just simply says NA. So we've finished with the VLOOKUP portion of this spreadsheet. Let's take a look at how to get rid of that NA. The easiest way is to use the IFNA function. I'm going to go up to my formula bar, type IFNA right after the equal sign, and open a parenthesis. The first option will be the value, and I'm going to leave my formula as it was, come to the end and type in a comma. You'll now see that I get to choose the value if NA. So what do I want to display in this cell if the result is NA? And in this case, I want to show nothing. So I'm going to put in 2 quotation marks right next to each other and close the parenthesis, hit enter, and we'll see that this cell now has nothing showing in it because it was NA. I'm going to autofill that value down, and now we have empty cells for the people who were not on the team last year, and we have the last time of those that were on the team last year. The next function we're going to look at is the HLOOKUP function. Now VLOOKUP was named VLOOKUP because it looks up data in a vertical format. HLOOKUP, as you might guess, looks up data in a horizontal format, kind of like our loyalty discount rates down here. So on this spreadsheet, we've got some sort of club with members, and based on how long they're in the club, they get a specific discount rate. On this spreadsheet, you'll see we have some sort of club with various members, and depending on how long you've been in the club, you get a certain discount rate. And so we're going to attempt to calculate that discount rate right here in cell F3 for Ruben, and then hopefully autofill that down. So I'm going to click on the Insert Function button, and I'm going to search for HLOOKUP and insert that as my function. And in the function wizard here, we've got 4 different options that we can put in. The first one's going to be the lookup value. And as I've said before, the lookup value is that which we hope to find more information about. In this case, we're hoping to find more information about the discount rate for how many years of service. So years will be our lookup value. The table array is where we hope to find that information. In this case, we're going to use this horizontal table right here with the years and the rate. Now keep in mind that the lookup value must be in the top row of your table array. Next is going to be the row index number, kind of like the column index number in VLOOKUP. In our case, it's going to be the second row of data that we put into the table array, so I'm going to choose 2. And then finally, our range lookup. Do we hope to find an exact match for our lookup value, or are we looking for an approximate match? In this case, we're looking for exact match, and so we're going to type in false. And the discount rate is applied, which then gets put into this formula that I have over here, applying the discount rate. Now to be able to autofill this down to do this calculation for all of the members, we first have to go up and change the table array to be a fixed reference so that it doesn't adjust as we autofill down. So I'm going to select that table array, hit the F4 key to put in the dollar signs for a fixed reference, hit enter, and then autofill down. And as you can see, the total due for each member appropriately updates. Now let's demonstrate how we can use VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP to find an approximate match or the closest match. In this case, I have a list of students and I have their grades that they've earned this semester. And on the other tab over here, I have 2 different grading scales, a simple grading scale without pluses and minuses, and a more complex grading scale with pluses and minuses. You'll notice that both of these scales have 2 things in common. One is that the first column or row contains the values that I'm going to look up. The second thing that they have in common is that those values are sorted from lowest to greatest. Same here on this horizontal table. So let's go back and take a look at our gradebook. And let's say we want to calculate the simple letter grade for Brooke. Now, just by looking at that, we can tell that according to the grading scale, Brooke got an A because 0.9 is the cutoff for an A. I can use a regular reference to refer to this grading scale, but it's going to be much easier if I create a named range. And to do that, I'm just going to select the simple letter scale. And up here in the name box, I'm going to type in simple scale or simple grade scale. And now I have a named range that refers to this area right here. I'm going to go back to the gradebook and start writing my function. Equals VLOOKUP, same as in our previous example. My lookup value, I'm hoping to find more information about this percentage grade, so that will be my lookup value. My table array is going to be simpler to find because it's my named range, which was literally simple grade scale. The column that I hope to return a value from will be the second column. And the range lookup in this case will be true. I want to find an approximate match. I'm going to hit enter. And you'll see that a simple letter grade of A is calculated. Once I autofill this down, we'll have the simple letter grade for each student. Now in this case, what happens, let's take Caitlin as an example. Caitlin has a 0.72. The way this works is that VLOOKUP says, is that 0.72 greater than or equal to this value? In this case it is, so we move on to the next option. Is that 0.72 greater than or equal to 0.6? Yes, it is. Is that 0.72 greater than or equal to this option? Yes, it is. Is that 0.72 greater than or equal to this option? No, it's not, so we're going to backtrack and choose the previous option. It works that way for all of the different grades that we have. Now let's take a look at how to use HLOOKUP. I'm going to type in equals HLOOKUP. Our lookup value is still going to be the percentage grade, but the table array is going to be different. We're going to want to use this horizontal table. Now, I didn't create a named range for this one, and that'll just demonstrate how much more difficult this is going to be. I'm going to click over here and choose my horizontal table array. I'm going to go back up to my formula bar. I'm going to hit comma. And after I do that, I'm actually going to select this range and hit F4 to turn it into a fixed reference. I suppose that isn't that much more difficult, but it is an extra step, and named ranges just make a lot more sense. Next, it's asking which row my result will be in, and in this case, it's row 2 had the letter grades in it. Finally, am I looking for an approximate or exact match? Approximate, so I will choose true, and I'm going to close my parentheses and hit enter. Now you'll see that Brooke got an A-, and let's autofill down. And there you go. There's the plus and minus letter grades for those students. The process works very similar. For this, let's take Riley right here with a 0.67, and we'll go and look at the scale. Am I greater than or equal to this? Yes. Am I greater than or equal to this? Yes. Am I greater than or equal to this? Yes. Am I greater than or equal to this? Yes. Am I greater than or equal to this? No, so I'm going to backtrack by 1. And there you have it. There's an example of how to use an approximate match on VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP.